Why am I here? What's my purpose in life? Why should I care about anything if it all ends eventually? These are the kinds of questions that tormented one of the greatest writers in history, Leo Tolstoy. Despite achieving fame, wealth, a loving family, and professional success, Tolstoy found himself grappling with these same existential dilemmas. His two most famous novels, War and Peace and Anna Karenina, are still celebrated as masterpieces in literature. On top of that, he had a large estate, a beautiful family, and a devoted wife. Yet, when Tolstoy reached the age of 50, a deep shift occurred. Suddenly, nihilistic thoughts overtook him, and all the joy he had once found seemed to evaporate. A man who had lived life to the fullest, pursuing pleasure without restraint, now found himself questioning the very essence of life. What caused this shift? How did he cope with it? In this video, we'll explore Tolstoy's personal struggle and how he confronted these profound questions in search of answers. From a young age, Tolstoy was deeply skeptical of Christianity. He lost both parents early in life, which left him feeling abandoned and disillusioned. His early experiences with the church further hardened his views. Tolstoy famously said that what was once accepted as religious doctrine became impossible to believe as he gained more life experience. The more he learned, the more his faith dissolved. For nearly 50 years, Tolstoy lived a life that seemed free of major worries. He was rich, successful, and surrounded by family. But then, something changed. His life fell into a deep intellectual and existential crisis. Sleep became his only escape, offering a temporary reprieve from the onslaught of questions about his purpose and the meaning of existence. In his essay, A Confession, Tolstoy shared how, during this dark period, he even considered ending his own life. Overwhelmed by the relentless nihilism, he felt as though life itself had lost all meaning. His thoughts spiraled, and he began to feel like a child again, constantly asking himself, why? Why life? Why death? Tolstoy's personal struggles were mirrored in his writing, especially in the character of Levin from Anna Karenina. Much like Tolstoy, Levin found himself trapped in a cycle of questions about life and death. Tolstoy captured this sense of hopelessness with the words, "If not now, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then in 30 years. Does it make any difference?" At his lowest point, Tolstoy contemplated suicide, but instead of surrendering to despair, he chose to embark on a different path, a search for meaning, a journey to find inner peace. One of the turning points in Tolstoy's quest for answers came from a parable he reflected on deeply, one he included in a confession. It was about a man running from a wild beast who finds an abandoned well. In desperation, the man jumps into the well, only to discover that a dragon awaits him at the bottom. In a panic, he grabs a branch sticking out of the well's wall, hoping to avoid falling into the dragon's jaws. As he hangs there, the man notices honey dripping from the leaves of the branch. In his moment of extreme danger, he reaches out and tastes the honey. Tolstoy saw this parable as a reflection of his own life. He realized that he was, like the man in the well, caught between two extremes: the existential dread of the wild beast above him and the inevitable death of the dragon below. Yet, in the midst of his crisis, he found moments of sweetness, moments of joy that kept him going, even when the surrounding circumstances seemed overwhelmingly grim. The search for meaning. Tolstoy's search for answers took him through various philosophies and ideologies. He read the works of philosophers like Solomon, Socrates, and Buddha, but he did not find complete peace in any of them. The general conclusion he drew from these teachings was bleak. Happy is he who has not been born. Death is better than life. Tolstoy then turned to science, but found little comfort there either. He found Darwinism to be nihilistic, seeing humans as mere accidental creations in an indifferent universe. According to biology, we're just lumps of energy, our value only temporary, destined to fade away when our cells age. The four paths to peace. Disillusioned by both philosophy and science, Tolstoy began observing the people around him. He concluded that there were four ways in which people deal with the despair of existence. 1. Ignorance. The first path was ignorance, the choice to live without questioning the meaning of life. Tolstoy noted that many people simply ignored the absurdity of life. They didn't overthink it, they just lived. French philosopher Albert Camus also embraced this philosophy, suggesting that instead of succumbing to nihilism, we should defy the absurd and live in spite of it. However, Tolstoy didn't believe ignorance was a lasting solution. With a functioning mind constantly urging you to question existence, ignoring it becomes impossible. The weight of existential thoughts eventually overtakes the illusion of ignorance. 2. Epicureanism. The second path was indulgence, seeking pleasure as a distraction from the pain of existence. Many people, Tolstoy observed, filled their lives with material wealth, relationships, and entertainment to avoid confronting the fear of death and the meaninglessness of life. Tolstoy criticized this approach, seeing it as ultimately unsatisfying. Indulgence may provide temporary relief, but it doesn't answer the deeper questions of life. It's like the honey in the parable. Sweet for a moment, but ultimately fleeting and superficial. 3. The end of the joke. The third group was those who, overwhelmed by life's absurdity, lacked the strength to continue but felt that ending the silly joke of existence was the only option. This, Tolstoy believed, was also not a solution. He himself had faced such a crisis, but knew that ending his life would never bring peace. If you find yourself in an existential crisis, don't give up, keep moving forward. The answers may not come immediately, but they will come in time. 4th, existential limbo. Finally, Tolstoy observed a fourth way: existential limbo. This is where people, after recognizing the futility and suffering of life, feel stuck between two extremes. They know that life is meaningless and death inevitable, but they lack the energy or willpower to do anything about it. They don't embrace life, but neither do they reject it. They exist in a passive state, unable to move forward. This, Tolstoy believed, was the most paralyzing of all the ways, leaving individuals spiritually exhausted and unable to seek meaning or peace. Tolstoy's journey was a quest for meaning in a world that seemed devoid of it. Through philosophy, science, and deep reflection, he ultimately found solace not in external answers, but in his own search for peace. His message to us is clear. The search for meaning is ongoing, and while the answers may not be immediate, the act of searching itself brings a sense of purpose. By shifting from despair to a search for meaning, Tolstoy found his way out of the existential crisis that once threatened to consume him. This story reminds us that while life may be filled with uncertainty, it is the search itself that offers us meaning.